Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 27th of December and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. So today we are a little bit late as there were some connectivity issues in the morning. Now, let's start with the video. In the video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We will simplify all the articles and we'll see the background as well as the way forward in the relevant articles. Now guys, before starting, I would like to tell you that you can also download the synoptic notes, and in the synoptic notes actually we have given the detailed notes of all the articles. Okay, this synoptic notes also covers the editorials as well, and in the last a mains practice question has also been given. This notes can be downloaded from our telegram channel, and the link for telegram channel is given in description box in YouTube, or you can visit the telegram and you can search by typing thinking palette by Sahil. Now, before starting up with the newspaper analysis, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important in the today's newspaper. So the first article, okay, here we can see this particular thing that concocted history led to a sense of inferiority prime minister. So guys, concocted means when a particular thing is made by mixing a lot of things, by mixing a lot of patches. So it has been said that the mix and matched history that has been written, it has led to the development of sense of inferiority, but India has the glorious traditions. Okay, so basically guys, basically we see this particular thing that on the celebration of Veer Bal Divas, okay, this particular statement has been made. Now the Veer Bal Divas, here we can see it commemorates the martyrdom of the sons of Guru Gobind Singh. Okay, here we can see Guru Gobind Singh Sahibzadas, Baba Zorawar Singh, Baba Fateh Singh. So to commemorate their martyrdom, this here we can see that the Veer Bal Divas is being observed. Now moving on in this particular direction, guys. Here a side article: Create in India says task force on gaming, animation, and VFX. This is a very important development for the examination. We are going to see it. Then further moving on, here we can see that disputed districts on Karnataka border under the center's rule. Now the article is not important article. The article is containing the political inclinations, not very much important. Moving on in the city section, the regional news etc. has been given. Doesn't contains much of an relevant substance. So guys, directly in this particular direction, we'll reach to the editorial page and the first article, a dismissed review petition on egregious error. We'll see this article with respect to exam. A warship program that must go full steam ahead. We'll see this particular article also with respect to the examination. Power roller coaster. Okay, so guys, basically guys, this article is talking about the power sharing agreement, power sharing in the Nepal's a new prime minister that has been sworn. Then further moving on for a spot in the final. Okay, so basically guys, now the party basically the article is talking about the men's T20, and therefore the article actually doesn't contain much of a substance point. Moving on, how to improve the historical thinking. Okay, so guys, if you want, you can read the article as a leisurely read. And further moving on in this particular direction, the House report on the Capitol attack. So the Capitol attack that was carried in the USA, on that particular thing the report has been put, and moreover the Donald Trump has been held responsible in this particular direction. So that particular report is being discussed. Now for our examination, the report is not that much important. Then what is the Delhi High Court verdict on the Ruafza trademark? Okay, a mobile development platform for novices. Okay, then further moving on, basically here we can see that this is an important article. Expedite the classification of the nomadic tribes and quota list panel tells the center. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Here we see this particular thing that the prime minister had spoken to the Ukrainian president, and the discussions have happened for the G20, and the Ukraine has thanked India for the aid and the UN support that has given. Now guys, understand this particular thing. As we talk about the Russia Ukraine crisis that is going on, the India has not condemned Russia up till now, but India has diluted a little of its stand. Russia now the India has provided this particular thing that sorry, the India has provided this particular thing now that the war is to be condemned, but directly they have not pinned the responsibility on Russia, but India had very clearly provided this particular thing that this century, this era is not of the wars. Now moving on in this particular direction, NCPR warns NGO over the depiction of vulnerable children for fundraising. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. And the political articles etc. have been given. Nationwide mock drill on COVID-19 to be held today. It's because guys, we see this thing that now the cases are increasing into the China for the COVID-19. So for that particular thing, we are also training the we are also taking the precautionary steps in the India. Then center mandates universal digital capturing of MGNREGA attendance. We'll see this particular article with respect to the exam. Then moving on the world page, Prachanda sworn in as Nepal Prime Minister. We'll see the article. Then next article talks about the COVID wave, fine, and all such kind of things. Fine. Then guys, on the the business page also, we don't find much of the relevant articles. Unfunded pension scheme is a tax on future generations. Shares snap 4-day losing streak. Okay. Then there are some of the corporate trends, etc., that has been given. Now guys, understand this particular thing. I have told you many number of times that which articles are actually important for the business page as well as the articles that are important into the international page. You need to understand this particular thing, that every article that is coming is not important. Only the articles which talk about certain economic themes, certain economic trends, or certain developments which have implication on India, they are important. So every other article is not to be seen. Okay. Now then we have the sports page. Okay, so this is the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in the detail. Now, in every class we start with a GS quotation. Today we'll take the quotation from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and the quotation says, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Guys, injustice, it is such a kind of a disease that even if it has left at one place, it will replicate itself and it will disrupt the social order in the society. It will disrupt the social justice in the society. So if the injustice has to be removed, then the injustice has to be removed from its roots. And if it is continuing at any one place even, then it is a threat to the humanity at large. So guys, we need to keep this thing in mind, and such this particular quotation can be used in GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 4 answers. Okay, that is all. And meanwhile, a very good morning to all of you. Jitendra, Hira, Shri, AK, Krishna, Akashdeep, Vipin, Sharon, Priyanka, Janvi, Name GA, Anipa, Shubdeep, Experimental, Dr. Santosh, Neha, Shakti Priya, P477, Rajat, Jalaja, Maika, Harsha, okay, Sandra, Cleali, Fazil, Pushpala, or sorry, Pupala Tulsi, Mahesh Bhai Patel, Richa, Dr. Princey, Fazil, Pallavi, Sandeep, Anisha, Lakshmi, AJ, and Sahana and Vijay Kumar. A very good morning to all of you. Sir, are you fine? Yes, I am fine. Little bit under the weather, but yes, I am fine. Thank you for asking. Thank you for showing concern in the health. Vineet, Ajay, Shizi, and Mahesh Bhai. A very good morning to all of you. Now let's start with the session. Okay. Now guys, the first article that we are going to discuss is Create in India says a task force on gaming, animation, and VFX. Okay. Now, this particular article guys is going to be very important article. Okay, one thing I want to say before proceeding, many number of times I wish you morning, you write it, but I have moved out of that frame, because guys, what you are seeing here, there is a delay, there is a gap of I think 30, 40, 50 seconds. So sometimes I might not be able to revert to your comments because of this delay that's there. Okay, now Create in India says task force on gaming, animation, and VFX. Very important article with respect to the GS paper number 3. Indian economy, low hanging fruits for Indian economy, in fact. Now basically guys, understand this thing, that as we talk about India, we know this particular thing, that India is enjoying rich demographic dividend. What is a demographic dividend? When the working age of a particular country, working ages population of a country increases, then they will be able to contribute in the economy of that particular nation, and by that particular thing, what will happen? The country will gain some dividend, will gain some profit. Now, if more number of young people in the age of 15 to 59 are there, they can contribute in economic activity. It will bring a kind of a dividend. And as this dividend has come because of a favorable age group, we call it as demographic dividend. So today, when we talk about the average age in India, it stands to just 28 years. So we have an exceptionally young population, and this young population can actually establish its niche, and that niche can be in the gaming industry, animation industry, and VFX industry. Understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about any country which has become an economic power, they have developed some of the niche product of their own. For example, China has the niche product of electronics. Cheap manufacturing was earlier a niche product of the China, though now they are moving towards sophisticated manufacturing as well. When we talk about the Israel's niche product is their command on the weaponry. Is it clear or not? For example, when we talk about the Germany, so German engineering, German cars, German capital goods, they have the niche product on that particular kind of a thing. So every country needs to have a command on a particular niche product. In this thing, what can be the India's niche product? It can be the gaming, animation, and VFX. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about this particular industry, it has been said that there will be a demand of 20 lakh skilled professional in the AVGC sector. Now, AVGC sector stands for animation, visual effects, gaming, and comics. There's a lot of demand in this particular sector. Moreover, as the new big ticket movies, big ticket cinemas, and such things are coming, so there in the visual effects, animation also there's a lot of demand. It has been provided that in this particular decade, we need to augment we need to augment the skilling initiatives, and we need to enhance the industry participation in the AVGC sector, and therefore we need the trained people, we need the trained workforce. It has been provided, guys, that today India contributes around 2.5 to 3 billion dollar, okay, to this AVGC to this AVGC industry. Okay, now what is the average size of the AVGC industry? It is around 260 to 275 billion dollar, but we are just contributing around 2.5 to 3 billion dollar. It means just 1% to the AVGC industry we are contributing. So there is a lot of potential, and we have a lot of young enthusiastic workforce, so it can be trained in this particular direction. It has been provided that as of today, India employs around 1.85 lakh AVGC professional, and it can witness a growth of 14 to 60% in the next decade. So therefore, we need to push our demography, our young workforce in the AVGC sector. There is a very important case for that. Now, in this particular direction, guys, what has happened? Government has constituted a task force on AVGC, that is animation, visual effects, gaming, and comics. And this particular task force had submitted a report back to the union government, and it has proposed that certain developmental steps should be taken for enhance the AVGC sector's potential in India. Now, what steps they have suggested? So guys, all the summary of this particular report I have provided here in this particular handout in the point by point manner. So please download this particular PDF and please see all these particular points. Number one, they say this particular thing, that a national AVGC extended reality mission is needed to be started, which should have a budgetary outlay, okay, for the integrated promotion and the growth of this particular sector. Now guys, the people and even the parents, the children and even their parents, they have an idea that if one has to make a career, they can choose engineering, they can choose medical sciences, etc. But apart from that, the AVGC sector, about its knowledge, about its awareness, it is very much lacking. So therefore, we need to start an AVGC extended reality mission, which should be given a specific budget for the promotion and the growth of this particular sector. The next suggestion that has been provided is that we need to start a Create in India campaign, and this Create in India campaign, which will specifically be focusing on the content creation. Now, content in animation, content of visual effects, content in the comics, so these contents needed to be created. Now guys, understand, this is actually very strange. Fine, when we talk about the comics, the DC and the Marvel are the two big houses which publishes their comics, which have their production cinema production lines also. But in India, we have such an old tradition, we have so many of the bal kathais, we have so many of the fictional stories and all such kind of things also we have, but we don't have a vibrant comic industry of the size of the Marvel and the DC. So basically, a Create in India campaign is needed to be started, in which the content creation, animation, visual effects, gaming, and comics, all these particular things, the content should be created. The next is that we also need to start the co-production treaties. We need to go in line with the innovations, okay, and for that we need to collaborate with the international counterparts. For example, Marvel, DC, we can interact with them, okay. Universal Productions, fine, on the animation, for the VFX we can collaborate with them, all these kind of things. Then the next thing that comes here is that we need to develop the national and regional centers of excellence for the skill development. So in North India, South India, East India, West India, Central India, regional centers of excellence. Somebody will be excelling in animation, some center will be excelling in content creation, comics, all these kind of things. Next thing that's coming here is that we also need to leverage the national education policy. Now recently the NEP 2020 was launched, so NEP should be leveraged so that the children come to know, they develop the creative thinking at the school level, because the creativity is the most important thing in the AVGC industry. The next thing that is being provided is that the Ministry of Education should advise the NCRT, that is the National Council for of Educational Research and Training, that the books should be focused on the content which is relevant to the AVGC. We have the content on sociology, geography, history, polity, but about what about the AVGC, that is the audio visual animation, visual effects, gaming and comics. On such kind of a thing, the books are not there, so books needed to be developed. The next suggestion that has been given in this particular direction is that the UGC should recognize the curriculum for undergraduate and postgraduate degrees for the this particular AVGC sector. So degrees should be designed and the course curriculum, books, content also needs to be designed. Then next is that there needs to be standardization of admission test for AVGC related courses. Okay, so this industry is not properly standardized. The next thing, we can sign the memorandum of understanding, memorandum of cooperation with countries such as US, Japan, South Korea, Germany. Now these are leaders in AVGC sector. We can collaborate with them, and internships from 6 months to 1 year can be provided to AVGC professionals who can go there and can learn about this particular sector. Fine. Then next, the next this report also mentioned that we also need to establish AVGC Accelerator, Innovation Hub and Academic Institution. Now what are these AVGC Accelerators and Innovation Hub? These will be the dedicated facilities where the training, skill development, okay, knowledge sharing, all these things will be done, so that the people who are pursuing the AVGC career, they can come together and can help each other. The next thing, we need to democratize AVGC technologies. How to democratize AVGC technology? We need to promote subscription based pricing model for micro, small and medium enterprises, startup institutions, indigenous technology development through incentive scheme, IP creation. Basically point is that subscription based pricing model needs to be started for all the AVGC services that are being provided. After that, the startups needed to be nudged so that they come into the AVGC sector. Okay, now the next thing that is being provided is that the dedicated production fund for domestic content creation needs to be developed, so that this particular fund can sponsor the people who are developing the content in AVGC, in the direction of AVGC. The next is we should be focusing on skilling and industry outreach for the youth in tier 2, tier 3 cities, villages. There is a lot of talent, lot of potential, so we need to specifically focus on that. And next, special incentives should be given for women entrepreneurs in this particular sector. If they want to come, women should be nudged. Promotion of a local children's channel for raising the awareness of the culture or history of India, so that out of that culture, out of that particular history, they can come out of their own creativity, can come out with stories, can create comics on that. Okay, all these things are being suggested. So guys, this is the nutshell of the report on task force on AVGC sector. You are not required to remember all the points, but guys, the question on such kind of a line can come, and if a question comes, you need to have these particular points in your mind. So this is all about it. I hope guys that you have understood it, and now we'll move to next article. Okay, NCPCR warns NGO over depiction of vulnerable children for fundraising. Okay, now let's see this particular article, and this article will be taken with respect to GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, social justice, and within the social justice, issues related to children. Issues related to children. Okay, now basically, guys, what has happened? I just want to give you some of a background. So there are crowdfunding platforms you might have heard about. Crowdfunding platforms you might have heard about. So what are crowdfunding platforms? For example, you often see advertisements on YouTube by many of the organizations which are raising funding for some children, for some for some child who is suffering with some kind of a disease. Sometimes the people are suffering because of hunger, so they show a video and ask you to donate some money. Now that particular money goes to that particular initiative if that organization is credible, and we call these particular initiatives as crowdfunding. We have many of the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, which are running these crowdfunding initiatives. Now one of a type of a crowdfunding initiative is oriented towards children. What is being done? Children who are hungry, children who are malnourished, undernourished, they will be shown in a video, and people will be requested that you should contribute the money so that this particular child can be given the food. 2 times squares can be given to this particular child. Now, in this particular direction, NCPCR. NCPCR stands for the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. NCPCR has issued a directive to NGOs that they should not depict vulnerable children. They should not depict vulnerable children who are in this sad condition. They have provided this particular thing that if you will depict the children, it will be assumed to be violation of Juvenile Justice Act of 2015, and then the penalties can be imposed. It could be construed as an offense as well. Now it has been provided that guys this particular thing opens up 2 dimension. One dimension is that it's good. The NGOs, it's good. NGOs should not depict children in such kind of situation. Why? Because in such a way, what's happening, we are publicizing suffering of a person, and by publicizing suffering of a person, we are trying to generate some money on that. So therefore this particular ban is justified. This ban is justified. Second thing that's coming here is that though money is raised by showcasing their condition, but in that particular thing their dignity is lost. Their dignity is lost. So therefore it's wrong, and therefore ban is positive. The next thing that comes, it says that no, this ban should not be brought. Why? Because because understand this thing, that the entire logic of charity, entire logic of generosity flows from this particular fact that we find a person in pitiable situation, in some very urgent and stressful situation, and then we help. So basically what's happening, by this particular actors, philanthropic organizations, individuals are actually able to contribute. They are able to know the plight of these people, otherwise you have never known that such children are there. So they help us. These campaigns help us in knowing their conditions and garner the support for them. So therefore this ban is not right. Now so this is something that has come. However, in totality, even if the NGOs are portraying such children, they need to take precaution, and certain things needed to be always kept in mind. Number one, it should ensure that these advertisements, even if they are being carried, they should not objectify, belittle means to show somebody tiny as to show somebody small. That they should not objectify, they should not belittle, or they should not dehumanize children. This is something that needs to be kept in mind. Second thing, informed consent of the subject. Informed consent of that particular child is to be taken, their families to be taken. Okay, if you are taking their photos and videos, they need to be also explained that how their photos and videos will be used, and what will be the repercussions of these photos and videos in the long term. All this information is to be given, and only then these photographs and videos should be made. The next thing, rigorous procedures should be undertaken to minimize any risk to children. Okay, and not more than two pieces of information should be provided. For example, a child's full name is one information, image of that child is another information, and the location is the third information. Out of these three informations, only two informations at max should be given, and this practice should not lead to any injury to them, any risk to them. Then next thing, attention should be paid as what is allowed and what is not allowed in post production, how long images can be used. So there was a case of one of an NGO which had run a campaign. Okay, now I will not deliberately be using the name of it or not. So an NGO ran a campaign, and in that particular campaign they asked money to feed a hungry child. Now that campaign ran for many years, and for not many years the money was collected in the name of that particular child. But when NGO was contacted that where is that child, they did not had any information about the whereabouts of that child, about the condition of that particular child. So basically, the how long that images will be used, there needs to be a timeline. Now UNICEF also has deployed 8 quick step guide to ethical imagery, and in this particular 8 step guide they specifically had given one step which is very important, is that if she were my child, how would I want her or him to be portrayed? Before portraying the children, this kind of question should be asked. These kind of questions should be asked by the people who are portraying. Okay, so they should ask themselves these questions. Then next thing, this particular the NCP it also warns against other extremes of using happy and cute images of children also. Okay, so neither you show them always in a plight, but don't even glorify that always the children are happy, they're always cute, because it objectifies the children in an idealized and sentimentalized happiness. Fine, it negates the complexity of the real life. Real life is not that happy, real life is not that cute, so even such kind of portrayal should not be there as per UNICEF's report on ethical imagery. Next thing that comes in this direction is that many people now in this particular direction, guys, many of the people in civil society have welcomed this thing, that it is good. We need to ensure that children's do we need to ensure that basically we need to present children with their dignity, in their strength. We should not always portray children as a kind of a clickbait to generate more and more funds. That thing should not happen, so such kind of restrictions should be there. Now when we talk about this particular restriction that is being imposed by the National Commission for Protection of Child Right, it comes at a particular time when India has not been very much acceptable to the criticisms that have been made. Particularly, government has been criticized multiple number of times on the handling of hunger. Now, what has happened? India's performance in global hunger index has not been good. India got 107 rank out of 121 countries in 2022 index. India has been critical of this point also. So therefore, it is being said by some of the people that while we are portraying it, India doesn't want that a negative publicity happens. So therefore, such a restriction has been brought. So these are both the dimensions of this point. Now that is all about it. And now we'll move to next article. Center mandates universal digital capturing of MGNREGA attendance. This article will see with respect to GS2, GS paper number 2, evaluation of government welfare schemes. Evaluation of government welfare. Now, before going in article, I will be giving you some of background information and then we'll see that what article is talking about. So guys, you might have heard about MGNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Under MGNREGA, 100 days of paid employment is provided to every rural household, and work will be unskilled labor work. For unskilled labor work, 100 days minimum employment will be provided to the rural household. Now, when a worker goes on a work site to work under MGNREGA, when a worker works under the MGNREGA, their name will be recorded in muster roll. Their name will be recorded in muster roll. What is a muster roll? Muster roll is a formal list of people who are working at a particular site. And secondly, attendance of people who have worked, it also needs to be marked, so that at the end when their wages will be given, the wages can be calculated on basis of attendance that they have marked. So muster roll is to be prepared and attendance is to be marked. That is something that goes on. Now government has provided that there are many of irregularities in the system. Why? Because there all these entries are being recorded in a manual way, so it might be prone to some abuse, some misuse. So therefore government wants to capture the master roll digitally, as well as they want to mark the attendance digitally. They don't want that some corruption should happen, because many number of times we find that there have been the ghost beneficiaries. There are some of the worker who are being shown in the attendance sheets, but actually they are not coming there. So such bogus entries in the attendance have been there. So in order to remove this corruption, such digital reforms are being brought. Moreover, how to certify that actually a person was present there? So two time stamped and geotagged photographs need to be there. Suppose a working site is at X place. So at X place, the time-stamped and geo-tagged photograph is to be clicked. This photograph is to be uploaded twice a day, and that thing will mark that person's attendance. These are certain reforms that has come in MGNREGA, and by this particular reform, government is justifying that we are bringing the tech-enabled solutions to remove the corruption. Now, good, but this attendance system has it has come under a controversy. It is being criticized. Let's see what's the criticism. So basics is that this digital capture of attendance for the workers under MGNREGA, this particular scheme was notified earlier. For example, it was notified in May 2021, and it was promoted as a way of bringing transparency and accountability in MGNREGA. And then it was started as a pilot project. Pilot project means as an experimental project. It got started in some of the villages, and for that thing there was a particular software also that was designed, that was National Mobile Monitoring Monitoring System. Sorry, National Mobile Monitoring System was specifically developed. Okay, however, in 2022 there was another change that came, and it was provided that it is compulsory for all the work sites with 20 or more workers. So if more than 20 workers are working on a work site, it is compulsory, and it required uploading of 2 time-stamped geotagged photographs, as I have told you. So this is the development that has happened. Now government is saying that from January 2023, it will be applicable on all the work sites, even the work site with the less than 20 number of people, it will be applicable there as well. So this is something that has come. Now, in this particular direction, guys, there are certain complaints that are coming. People are not happy, activists are not happy. They say that, first of all, up till now, wherever this NMSS software has been made operational, technical support is not given to them. Second thing, there is a necessity of owning a smartphone. So basically on a work site, suppose there are 20 workers who are working, and then there will be one mate. Who is a mate? Mate is person who ensures that these 20 workers are working. So mate is a kind of a manager of these workers. So mate needs to have a smartphone. And by the smartphone of mate, all these digital attendances will be marked, and all these things will happen. Now see this thing. First of all, this mate, it is paid gradually more than marginally more than workers who are working there. So this mate is not given some additional incentive, but now he will be or she will be forced to have the smartphone. Now problem that will come here is that many of these mates are also very poor. Okay, many of the mates are women, and there are still limitations on women's owning a smartphone in the rural areas. So therefore this limitation will be there. Then they need to pay for internet connection. So they are already poor, how they'll pay for internet connection? This is the reason. Then there is also the issue of internet connectivity, erratic internet connectivity. If suppose internet connectivity is not there, and there is a glitch that came in uploading the attendance, then for that entire day a particular person will not get the wage. It will bring the dispute, it will bring many of challenges in future times. So these were some of the general challenges, and now there are some other challenges that have also come. So basically, number one, it is being said that app-based attendance system, it carries forward the problem of electronic muster roll. So we have seen this thing, that muster roll, it is a list of all workers who are working at a particular work site. Now, there is a clause in MGNREGA Act that muster roll needs to be available and needs to be accessible by the worker. A worker can visit and can see whether its attendance are being marked in the muster roll or not. But now it will become digitized, and it will become digitized. All the time availability and accessibility might not possible because of internet connectivity issues that will come. Moreover, now it's being provided that suppose there is a work site, and in this work site, let's say 10 people are working, and all these 10 people's entry is there in muster roll. Suppose an 11th person also comes and want to work at this particular work site. What can be done? His name will also be added in muster roll, and he will start to work at this particular site. But now, as this electronic muster roll will be there, now point that comes here is that it has provided that the muster roll has to be generated based on demand, and therefore no worker can come and join at the workplace in middle of the work. Okay, so once the work site is being started, then the name of the workers will be enrolled, and they will start the work, and once that particular thing has been frozen, new workers cannot join. Next thing that comes here is that if 10 workers are working on a work site and out of them only 2 come to work, 8 doesn't comes, then electronic muster roll will not allow the opening of that work site. So work site can only be opened, okay, or the entry for that work site can only be made on muster roll when basically a minimum number of workers have come. So if 2 people only came out of 10, then even these 2 people will not get employment. Next thing that comes is the problem of 2 time stamped photographs. 2 time stamped photograph. Now, a good thing of MGNREGA was this, that the people here were given the task that you have to perform a task, but they were not required that they need to stay for 8 hours, 10 years on that particular site. Many of the workers in MGNREGA are women. Okay, they come to a work site, they do their work, then they again go back to home, they perform their domestic responsibilities, domestic duties, then they come back and they again start the work. So their availability on that particular dedicated time when the attendance is being marked, it might not be possible. It might lead to certain challenges. The next thing that comes in this direction is this. Then there are endless conditions that are being imposed on MGNREGA workers by this thing, that you have to upload digital photograph, you have to mark in entry in the digital attendance system, all this thing. So it will demoralize MGNREGA workers, and by that particular thing, many of them might get dissuaded to work in MGNREGA. So this is all about this particular article that has been given. Now moving to next article. Expedite classification of nomadic tribes in quota list, panel tells center. This particular article will see with for GS paper number 2, social justice. Social justice, within social justice, vulnerable section of society. Okay. So basically, first guys, I would like to tell you about that what is nomadic tribes, okay, and what are this particular concept. Okay. Now, first of all, understand this particular thing, that a parliamentary committee, a parliamentary panel on social justice and empowerment has pulled the union government for a very slow process of categorization of over 260 denotified nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes under SC, ST, OBC list. What it means in a very simple words. So basically, guys, there are number 1 denotified tribes. Denotified. What are the denotified tribes? So basically, when Britishers were ruling India, they came with an act by the name of Criminal Tribe Act. They came with the Criminal Tribe Act. And under this Criminal Tribe Act, there were certain names of the tribes that were added. And these tribes were called as the criminal tribes. It was assumed that always the people of these tribes are going to commit some kind of a crime. And as per provisions of the Criminal Tribes Act, it was provided that even if a child has been born in these tribes which were mentioned, FIR has to be lodged in a nearby police station that a criminal has been born. So many of tribes, they were ridiculed, they were made as a part of this Criminal Tribe Act. Now when India became independent, this Criminal Tribe Act got it got repealed, and the tribes whose name were notified in this Criminal Tribe Act, their name got denotified. And this particular group, which was earlier the part of the Criminal Tribe Act, these tribes came to be known as DNTs, that is denotified tribes. Denotified tribes. So there are these denotified tribes. Then there are nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes. Nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes are those which don't settle at one particular place. Okay, they are just shifting their place, they are just shifting from one place to another place in search of food, agriculture, and all such kind of a thing. So the nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes were there. Now all these denotified tribes, nomadic tribe and semi-nomadic tribes are very backward. They also faced a lot of social discrimination, exclusion, etc. So therefore, it was proposed that these denotified nomadic and semi-nomadic tribe will be added in the SC, ST and OBC list. Out of them, guys, now you guys see, just I am giving you some data here, very important to understand this particular topic. So in terms of the population of country, it is being said that 10 crore Indians from 1400 communities are either the denotified tribes or they belong to nomadic or semi-nomadic tribes. So 10 crore people belong to this. Okay, now they say Now on this particular commission, there is a Idet commission that came. Okay, Idat commission that came. Now, so Idet commission provided this particular thing that out of it categorized 1262 communities under SC ST OBC list. 1262 communities should be added under SC ST and OBC list, and 267 communities were left uncategorized. Fine. So I told you that we have more than 1400 communities, 1400 plus. Out of that, 1262 communities were listed that they will be getting SC ST OBC status. 267 communities were not categorized, and now what has happened, these 267 categories which did not get categorized, now they are to be categorized in either SC ST or OBC list. Now in this particular direction, their names have not got added up till now, and for that particular thing, Parliamentary Panel on Social Justice and Empowerment has pulled the union government. Now why they are pulling the union government? It's because government introduced seed scheme. Now what is this, a seed scheme? SEED stands for Scheme for Economic Empowerment of DNDs. Now, this particular scheme was launched in February 2022. And as per the provision of this particular scheme, all the people who belong to these tribes, they will get free competitive exam coaching, health insurance, housing assistance, livelihood initiatives, and money of 200 crore has been allocated for 2021, 2022 to 2025, 2026. So, if the beneficiaries will not be added, if these 267 communities will not be identified as the SC, ST or OBC, they will not get their benefit. So therefore, the union government needs to be swift, needs to be active in this particular direction, and needs to immediately take the steps. So that is all guys about it. And now we'll move to the next article. A dismissed review petition, an egregious error. Now, what this article is and where the article will be important. This article will be important for GS paper number 2, issues related to polity. Okay. Before going in this article, I would like to give you some of details, some of background details. And after understanding these background details, we'll be able to make more sense of this article. So guys, you know about the bill, you might be knowing, you might have heard about Bilkis Bano. Bilkis Bano. So basically, Bilkis Bano was a Muslim woman, and Bilkis Bano, she was raped. She was raped while there was the Gujarat riots that were going on. And in this particular direction, 11 of the people were convicted. 11 people were convicted. Recently, what happened? One of them applied for remission. They applied for the remission in their punishment, and they were given the punishment by they were given the remission by the Gujarat government. Because of that particular thing, they were released out of the jail. Now Bilkis Bano and many of the people, they have said this particular thing, that it is an act of injustice. When clearly they were convicted of the rape, fine, and many other offenses also that they have done. Now I specifically don't want to go into those particular dimensions because they are not important for the UPSC exam. So why they were released? Now in this particular direction guys, there is one development that has been mentioned in this article. We are going to go in that, but you need not to go too much in detail because then it will not be important for examination. So basically guys, what happened, these convicts earlier had applied to Gujarat High Court, and they wanted that they should be given the remission of their punishment. Their punishment needs to be reduced. They wanted the remission from Gujarat High Court. Gujarat High Court rejected this particular petition. Gujarat High Court rejected this particular petition. Then these people approached the Supreme Court that please review our remission petition. Supreme Court told these people that you need to apply the Gujarat government. You need to apply to the Gujarat government. Gujarat government is a suitable government in this particular matter. Now, why Gujarat government is suitable in this particular matter? Understand this particular thing, guys. Though the crime happened in Gujarat, but this particular trial of this crime, the trial, it was held in Maharashtra. Why it was held in Maharashtra? In order to, so that a kind of a neutrality can be maintained in this particular case. And the punishment was given by the Maharashtra. Supreme Court said that, okay, you need to apply for the remission in Gujarat, not the Maharashtra, in Gujarat. This was something that was said. And what happened? Gujarat government actually then give them remission, and these people were released out of jail. This is something that had happened. Now we'll start the article. So this is something that you need to know. Fine. Now what has happened? Bilkis Bano applied the Supreme Court that the Supreme Court should review its May 2022 order, where it said that the Gujarat government was the appropriate government to decide the prayer of remission of these convicted people. You remember that what happened? These people, first of all, they applied to Gujarat High Court, they rejected their petition, and then they went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that you should go to the Gujarat government. So this order of Supreme Court should review this particular order, because if this particular order will be reviewed and Supreme Court said that no, Gujarat government was not an appropriate government, so their remission, it will get cancelled. So Bilkis Bano applied to Supreme Court that they should review their May 2022 order. Okay, but Supreme Court has dismissed this particular petition of Bilkis Bano. Now, by this particular rejection, it has been provided that a grave injustice has happened. A grave injustice has happened. Okay, now I told you that in the judgment of May 2022, the court allowed one of the convicts' writ petition, set aside an order by the Gujarat High Court which had rejected the same relief, okay, and allowed them that okay, you can go to the government. This is something that has happened. Now some details I want to tell you here. Number one, guys, it is being number one, you need to keep it in your mind that when we talk about the Constitution of India, any ruling by the Supreme Court is binding and it becomes the law of the land. Okay, and on the ruling of Supreme Court, future cases will also be decided. Next thing that comes here is that there is Article 137, and under Article 137, the Supreme Court has power to review its own judgment. So now, as Bilkis Bano wanted the review of that judgment, Supreme Court would have done that. Now, there are many of the limitations, many of the gaps in this case that are being talked in this article. Number one, guys, it is being provided that a petition was made by the convict to the Supreme Court when the Gujarat High Court rejected it. And Supreme Court directed that, okay, you go to the government of Gujarat. Now the article is talking about this, that actually there was a writ petition that was made under Article 32. So this petition was made under Article number 32. But under Article 32, petitions are not maintainable against judicial order, especially the court orders of the High Court. So we have seen this thing that earlier the Gujarat High Court had rejected it. So against the Gujarat High Court, they have applied to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court could not have accepted it. Why? Because already the Gujarat High Court rejected it. So this thing cannot be done. Now they applied for the writ petition, okay, in the Supreme Court. And the point is that they did not give that entire information to the Supreme Court. They did not give the information to the Supreme Court. Moreover, we have judgments also in this particular direction. For example, there is Naresh Sridhar Mirajkar case of 1966. Then there is Triveni Ban judge case of the 1989. In both of these particular judgments, it has been provided that a court can never be challenged. That judgment of a court can never be challenged in a writ petition under Article 32. So what they did, they actually challenged the Gujarat High Court judgment because they refused it. So that judgment was challenged in Supreme Court by using the petition under Article 32, but it cannot be done. Suggested by these two judgments, that is the Naresh Sridhar Mirajkar judgment and the Triveni Ban judgment. This has been clearly provided. So this is a violation that has happened. Next thing that comes here in this particular direction is that actually, guys, there is another judgment that has been held wrong. Now listen this point very carefully. So the Constitution bench in Union of India versus Sri Haran judgment very clearly provided. It held that if an offense is committed in state A, but the trial takes place and sentence is passed in the state B, it is the government of the later which alone is the appropriate government. Now here you can say that the offense was committed in Gujarat, the trial took place in Maharashtra, and the sentence is also passed in the Maharashtra. Now if the remission petition is to be applied, it can be applied in Gujarat. It has to be applied into the Maharashtra and not in Gujarat. But Supreme Court sent them to Gujarat. So therefore it is wrong. It is the violation of again the Union of India versus Sri Haran judgment. Fine. Next thing, guys, in other case also, in 1976, in the Madhya Pradesh versus Ratan Singh case, it was also decided that an authoritative decision on the important principles in the case, okay, in such kind of a case is provided that the state where the accused was convicted, it has the power to grant remission. Now where the accused was convicted, they were convicted in Maharashtra, so Maharashtra has power to decide that particular matter, not Gujarat. So these are the limitations that had come, and by these things were not addressed in Supreme Court, so therefore a grave injustice has happened as per the article. So this is guys all about it. Now we'll move to next article. A warship program that must go full steam ahead. This article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, indigenization of defense. Indigenization of defense. Now guys, this article, it talks about the INS Vikrant, IAC-1, which is India's first indigenously built aircraft carrier. Now guys, we need aircraft carrier in order to enhance the naval supremacy of a particular country. Now when we talk about guys the aircraft carriers, these are the big ships that can sail in the water, that can stay for a very long period of time in the water. Now understand this particular thing. In order to keep the surveillance on the seas, we need aircrafts. To fight with the enemies in the seas, we need aircraft. But the aircrafts, they cannot fly very long. They can fly for few hundred kilometers. So therefore, if they wanted to reach, if they want to reach the into the waters in the far stretches, they need to be carried on the aircraft carriers, where they can rest, where they can be refueled, where the logistics can be met, and all such kind of things can happen. Now guys, INS Vikrant, it is the India's first indigenously built aircraft carrier, and recently it has performed the sea trials and will help in enhancing the India's capabilities. Now guys, here there are some details that have been given. For example, when we talk about the aircraft carriers, they can be light, light aircraft carrier, medium, and the large or the super aircraft carriers. Now light aircraft carriers, they can carry 25 aircrafts, medium size can carry 30 to 50 aircrafts, and super carriers can carry over 90 aircrafts. Then also they can be categorized as a fleet, escort, air defense. Okay. Now when we talk about guys the commissioning of the warship, that is the INS Vikrant, okay, it marks a historical step in the Atmanirbharta of India. When we talk about the self-reliance Atmanirbharta, defense Atmanirbharta is very much important, and that milestone has been achieved. Now Vikrant is the largest a warship that has ever been developed in India. It is first indigenously designed built aircraft for the Indian Navy, and by this thing India is placed in the elite group of countries which has capability to design and to manufacture their own aircraft carriers. Now when we talk about India, guys, in the past also India had the aircraft carriers. For example, we have we had the aircraft carriers which were either British or Russian. INS Vikramditya, which was commissioned in 2013, it was the Russian aircraft. Then the earlier we also had the aircraft carrier by the name of INS Vikrant and INS Virat. So it was earlier also there. And both of them were the British aircraft carriers. They were commissioned in 1961 and 1987. Now this particular aircraft, guys, as it has been indigenously designed and developed, first of all, the warship grade steel that is required for the manufacturing of this particular aircraft carrier, it has also been procured within India only. And for that particular thing, the Steel Authority of India Limited has collaborated with Defense Research and Development Lab, and that war grade steel has been provided. Next thing is that this particular aircraft carrier also had a lot of sophisticated technologies which make it battle ready. For example, it has short takeoff but arrested recovery. Okay. Now, what is short takeoff but arrested recovery? So basically, when the aircraft is landing on the aircraft carrier, it will be stopped by the wires. Okay, there will be the wires which will stop that particular aircraft carrier. So this particular aircraft carrier, it also has uh, uh, automation machinery. Fine, it has a lot of high-tech sensors, high-tech machineries capabilities. It also has full-fledged latest medical equipment facilities. Fine, operation theater. Fine, operation theater for physiography, emergency. Fine, ICU, labs, CT scan, X-ray machines. Fine, dental complex. All these telemedicine facilities. All these facilities are there. Okay, so basically it is going to give a lot of power to India in the Indian Ocean region, and it might help India in becoming the blue water navy. Blue water navy is the navy which has presence in almost all the seas and water bodies. Okay, so this is guys all about the capabilities of the INS Vikrant, the first indigenous aircraft carrier of India. Now, this particular article, guys, is not that much important. The article is just talking about the new prime minister that has been sworn in Nepal. So we see this particular thing that Pushpa Kamal, the hell Prachand, fine, popularly he's called as Prachand. Fine, he was earlier a Maoist rebel leader. Now he has been sworn as the prime minister in Nepal, Kathmandu. Is it clear or not? Now it is being provided that both of the outgoing prime minister Sher Bahadur Deuba fine and the incoming prime minister, that is the Pushpa Kamal Dehal Prachand, they were dressed into the Dora Suraval. Now Dora Suraval is a traditional, and it is a traditional dress of the power elites of Nepal which they have dressed. Then they are talking about that the presence give an impression of cordial handover, okay, and all these equations, political equations between the political parties in Nepal is being discussed in this article. Not important for exam, you don't need to go there, doesn't concerns our exam and our requirements. That is all about it. And now let's take the mains practice question for today. The question reads that Article 32 deals with the right to constitutional remedies. Discuss the significance of the right guaranteed by Article 32. What's the significance of Article 32? So this will be a 10 marker question for the GS paper number 2. So that is all guys about the today's newspaper analysis. With this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. That is all guys. Please take care of yourself. If you have liked, please do hit the like button. Please leave your comments.